A new video from the deadliest mafia boss in the US has surfaced, and it's sending shockwaves. From Lorenzo Manino's untouchable empire to Francesco Vicari's vast criminal networks, the video reveals secrets that could shake the very foundations of organized crime. Let's break it down. Lorenzo Manino. When law enforcement agencies across the nation compile their lists of America's most dangerous criminals, Lorenzo Manino consistently ranks at the very top. He stands as the deadliest boss still operating on American soil. As the current acting boss of the Gambino crime family, this criminal mastermind has built a reputation for orchestrating murders, international drug trafficking operations, and sophisticated extortion schemes. His empire generates millions in illegal profits while maintaining such complete operational security that federal agents struggle to gather prosecutable evidence against him. Manino's transformation into America's most feared crime boss began during 15 brutal years in federal prison. His convictions for drug trafficking and conspiracy to murder could have ended his criminal career permanently. Instead, he used his incarceration as an opportunity to study every law enforcement technique that had successfully brought down previous organized crime leaders. He emerged from prison not as a broken ex-convict, but as a criminal genius with a comprehensive understanding of how to build an untouchable empire. The moment that established Manino as the most dangerous boss in America came in March 2019. Gambino acting boss Frank Cali was assassinated outside his Staten Island home, and while federal investigators expected the typical chaos and violent succession struggle that usually follows such high-profile murders, something different happened. Manino's rise to power occurred with such smooth precision that law enforcement officials realized they were dealing with a completely new level of criminal sophistication. Federal wiretaps have provided rare glimpses into Manino's deadly operational methods. When Gambino soldier Paul Simplice was prosecuted for running a massive loan sharking operation in 2018, recorded conversations revealed that Manino was directing the entire criminal enterprise. The recordings demonstrated how he manages multi-million-dollar illegal operations while maintaining such careful distance from prosecutable activities that building a case against him becomes nearly impossible. The true scope of Manino's deadly influence became apparent through international investigations. In 2020, authorities uncovered his connections to Sicilian mafia networks, facilitating sophisticated drug and weapons trafficking operations between New York and Italy. Since assuming control in 2019, Manino has kept the Gambino family so far ahead of law enforcement that they've avoided every major federal indictment, making him the most successfully elusive crime boss in modern American history. Now, if you thought Lorenzo Manino was America's deadliest boss running the most sophisticated criminal empire, wait until you meet the next mafia boss who redefined what absolute power and brutal control looks like in modern organized crime. Michael Manuso. 15 years behind bars transformed Michael Manuso into something far more dangerous than he had ever been before. His brutal leadership of the Bonanno crime family has redefined what absolute power looks like in modern organized crime. As the official boss of the Bonanno crime family, Manuso has earned his place among America's deadliest criminals through decades of eliminating rivals, enforcing discipline through execution, and maintaining absolute control. His reign of terror has made his name synonymous with death in organized crime circles. Manuso's reputation as one of America's most dangerous bosses was forged through a criminal career marked by strategic violence. He eliminated anyone who threatened his rise to power. His convictions for manslaughter and murder established him as someone willing to kill family members, close associates, and business partners with equal ruthlessness if they crossed him. This wasn't impulsive violence. It was calculated elimination designed to create such fear that challenging his authority became unthinkable. When Manuso was released from federal prison in March 2019 after serving 15 years, his first acts as a free man demonstrated that incarceration had only sharpened his appetite for absolute control. He immediately restructured the entire Bonanno family hierarchy by shelving acting boss Joseph Camarano Jr. and consigliere John Zancokio. He stripped them of their ranks and profitable criminal operations because their legal defense strategy had publicly revealed internal family business. The most deadly demonstration of Manuso's continued control occurred in July 2022. He ordered Camarano not to attend his father-in-law Vito Grimaldi's wake due to his shelved status. When Camarano defied the order, Manuso's soldiers launched a violent assault at the funeral that escalated into a full-scale battle when Camarano's motorcycle club allies fought back against the Bonanno attackers. Manuso's retaliation was swift and merciless. He allegedly ordered a drive-by shooting at Camarano's Long Island home on December 18, 2022, followed by firebombing attacks on businesses associated with his former underboss. Even federal supervision couldn't contain his criminal activities, as authorities arrested him on March 9, 2022, for violating supervised release by associating with organized crime members. He was ultimately sentenced to an additional 11 months in prison on July 28, 2023. But Michael Mancuso's iron-fisted rule and reign of terror created something even more dangerous and unpredictable: the next mafia boss who's literally living on borrowed time while defying a death sentence. Joseph Joe C. Camarano Jr. Every breath Joseph Camarano Jr. takes is borrowed time. He continues to defy the death sentence imposed by one of America's most violent crime bosses while operating as the most dangerous type of criminal, a man with nothing left to lose. Though officially stripped of his position in the Bonanno family hierarchy, Camarano's refusal to submit to Michael Mancuso's authority has transformed him from a loyal lieutenant into America's most hunted organized crime figure. He's become a rogue operator whose desperation makes him unpredictably lethal. Camarano's transformation from trusted boss to marked man represents one of the most spectacular falls from power in modern organized crime history. He served as acting boss and street boss of the Bonanno family from 2015 to 2019, personally appointed by Michael Mancuso to manage extensive criminal enterprises. His operations generated millions in illegal profits through racketeering, extortion, and violent enforcement. During those years, Mancuso trusted him completely with the family's most sensitive operations. Camarano's criminal credentials were established early when he received a 27-month sentence in 2007 for strong-arming a Colombo family member. This demonstrated his willingness to use violence across family lines to protect Bonanno interests. This reputation for ruthless enforcement made him invaluable to Mancuso, who needed someone capable of handling the organization's most dangerous operations without hesitation or moral qualms. The legal victory that ultimately signed Camarano's death warrant came in March 2019. He and consigliere John Zancokio were acquitted of racketeering conspiracy and conspiracy to commit extortion charges in Manhattan federal court. Their defense team argued that the mafia no longer existed and that they were being profiled for their Italian ethnicity. This strategy won their freedom, but ignited Mancuso's volcanic rage, as he viewed such public denial of La Cosa Nostra as the ultimate betrayal. Upon his release from prison, Mancuso immediately shelved both Camarano and Zancokio, stripping them of their ranks and criminal rackets as punishment for their defense strategy. The final break came when Camarano defiantly attended his father-in-law's wake against Mancuso's direct orders. This resulted in a violent assault by Bonanno members that forced Camarano and his brother to go underground to avoid assassination attempts. While Camarano fights desperately for survival against impossible odds, the next mafia boss on our list proves that blood, violence, and traditional brutality still pave the deadly path to power in America's crime families. Angelo Fifi Gratalone. Blood and violence paved Angelo Gratalone's path to becoming a made member of America's deadliest crime family. His rise proves that traditional brutality still determines who rises through the ranks in modern organized crime. Formally inducted as a Gambino soldier in October 2019, Gratalone's elevation from street-level criminal to made member of one of America's most powerful crime families came through his willingness to engage in brutal extortion and violent enforcement. These activities keep victims terrorized and compliant. Gratalone's criminal career represents the deadly evolution of modern organized crime. Traditional murder and intimidation are now combined with sophisticated financial schemes that generate millions in illegal profits. Operating under Capo Joseph Lanni, he participated in racketeering conspiracy, extortion, and union-related crimes targeting New York's carting and demolition industries. He managed criminal enterprises that required both lethal enforcement skills and the intelligence to execute complex financial frauds. The sophistication of Gratalone's criminal operations became clear when federal investigators uncovered his involvement in elaborate schemes. These were designed to enrich the Gambino family, while maintaining plausible deniability for the violence that enforced compliance. Prosecutors revealed that Diego Tantio arranged for Gratalone to receive a no-show job at a construction company. This allowed him to collect paychecks and union health benefits without working, demonstrating the family's ability to infiltrate legitimate businesses while using deadly force to maintain control. As a soldier under Lanni's command, Gratalone was responsible for collecting proceeds from extortion and fraud schemes. He contributed to over $1.5 million in illicit profits that flowed to Lanni's companies. This financial network demonstrated how modern organized crime families use sophisticated money laundering operations to legitimize profits generated through murder, extortion, and violent intimidation of victims who dare to resist their demands. On November 8, 2023, Gratalone was arrested as part of a coordinated U.S.-Italian takedown of 16 Gambino members and associates. Federal prosecutors initially sought to keep him detained, but he was later released on bond. However, the stay on his release indicated the serious nature of the violent charges against him. If Gratalone's brutal extortion methods and violent enforcement shocked you, the next mafia boss has built a multi-million-dollar criminal empire through calculated terror and sophisticated schemes that keep victims completely silent. Joseph "Joe Brooklyn" Lanni. Millions of dollars in criminal profits flow through Joseph Lanni's sophisticated empire. His operation is built on a foundation of calculated violence that has made him one of the most feared captains in American organized crime. As an alleged captain in the Gambino crime family, Lanni oversees a crew of soldiers and associates while managing criminal rackets that have dominated New York's carting and demolition industries. He operates through a combination of sophisticated financial schemes and brutal violence that keeps victims terrorized into compliance. Lanni's success as one of America's deadliest crime bosses stems from his ability to combine old-school intimidation with modern criminal sophistication. This makes prosecution extremely difficult. Federal investigators discovered that Lanni received over $1.5 million in purported loans to his companies, which were actually proceeds from criminal activities. These represented sophisticated money laundering operations that transformed profits from murder, extortion, and violent intimidation into seemingly legitimate business investments. The deadly foundation of Lanni's empire became evident in February 2021. He allegedly supervised while associates James Lafort and Vincent Minscaro brutally assaulted a suspected informant at Say Less restaurant in Manhattan. The attack involved smashing a bottle in the victim's face and flipping tables. This demonstrated Lanni's willingness to use extreme violence to silence potential witnesses who might threaten his criminal operations. The most brazen display of Lanni's criminal arrogance occurred on September 1, 2023, at a Toms River, New Jersey restaurant. He threatened to burn the establishment down while openly identifying himself as a Gambino member. Surveillance footage captured him purchasing a gas canister shortly after making the threat, and he subsequently called the restaurant owner 39 times in a single night. The intimidation escalated to the point where the victim and his wife were later attacked with knives. Lanni's crew operated sophisticated bid-rigging schemes and extortion operations that generated hundreds of thousands of dollars in tribute payments. These demonstrated the complex criminal enterprises that modern organized crime requires to survive and prosper. On November 8, 2023, Lanni was arrested as part of the coordinated U.S.-Italian takedown. His lawyer claimed innocence despite extensive evidence of his empire's violent methods. Think Lanni's domestic operations and restaurant threats were terrifying? The next mafia boss coordinates international terror operations that span multiple continents and connects the world's most violent crime families through deadly networks. Francesco "Uncle Ciccio" Vicari. Terror flows freely across international borders when Francesco Vicari coordinates criminal operations. His work connects America's deadliest crime families with their equally violent counterparts in Sicily. As both a U.S.-based Sicilian mafia associate and Gambino crime family associate, Vicari facilitates transatlantic criminal activities that connect some of the world's most violent organized crime groups. His operations involve murder, drug trafficking, weapons smuggling, and brutal extortion schemes that terrorize victims across multiple continents. Vicari's approach to criminal operations combines old-world Sicilian violence with modern American criminal sophistication. This creates a uniquely terrifying combination that has proven devastatingly effective against victims who thought they understood the rules of organized crime. Working alongside Diego Tantio, Vito Rappa, and Kyle Johnson, he engaged in violent conspiracies targeting carting business owners who refused to pay tribute to the Gambino family. His methods were specifically designed to maximize both financial gain and psychological terror. Federal wiretaps captured Vicari directing a victim's father-in-law to threaten to cut a business owner in half to secure a $4,000 extortion payment. The conversation was conducted so casually that it revealed the routine nature of such deadly threats in Vicari's criminal operations. The recording demonstrated how easily violence flows through international criminal networks where murder is simply another business tool. After successfully extorting the payment, Vicari and Rappa sent a photo to Tantio showing Vicari raising a champagne bottle in celebration. They treated the victim's terror as a cause for celebration rather than showing any recognition of the human suffering they had caused. When the carting business owner attempted to stop making payments in September 2020, the response was swift and violent. Vicari and his associates allegedly set fire to the steps of the victim's home while his wife and children were inside and also damaged his carting trucks. Wiretapped conversations revealed Vicari's frustration with being assigned menial tasks despite his experience. This led to communications with Francesco Rappa in Sicily about his role. On November 8, 2023, Vicari was arrested in the U.S.-Italian takedown and initially granted release on a $1 million bond. While Vicari operates dangerous criminal schemes across international borders, the next mafia boss represents something equally dangerous and unpredictable: decades of criminal experience combined with resentment and nothing left to lose. John "Porky" Zancokio. Decades of criminal experience don't disappear overnight. John Zancokio remains a dangerous wildcard in New York's underworld, despite being stripped of power by one of America's most violent crime bosses. Though officially shelved by Bonanno boss Michael Manuso, Zancokio's extensive background in bookmaking, loan sharking, and violent enforcement have made him an unpredictable threat in organized crime circles. His resentment and criminal skills create a volatile combination. Zancokio's criminal reputation was built through decades of managing some of the most profitable illegal operations in New York. This included a bookmaking empire that once grossed $280 million annually and served high-profile clients. His marriage to Lanni Graziano, daughter of former Bonanno capo Anthony Graziano, cemented his position within the family hierarchy. It also provided him with connections that extended throughout New York's organized crime landscape. The legal victory that ultimately led to Zancokio's downfall came in March 2019. He and Joseph Camarano Jr. were acquitted of racketeering, conspiracy to commit extortion charges in Manhattan federal court. The defense strategy argued that the mafia no longer existed and that they were being profiled for their Italian ethnicity. This tactic secured their freedom but enraged Michael Manuso, who viewed such public denial of La Cosa Nostra as an unforgivable betrayal. During the trial, testimony revealed Zancokio's continued involvement in violent enforcement activities. This included a 2014 incident where former Bonanno associate Steven Sabella testified that Zancokio assaulted him at a gentleman's club they co-owned, punching and kicking him over a business dispute. The attack left Sabella with a black eye, bloody nose, and damaged tooth. It also resulted in his removal from Bonanno-linked businesses, costing him $2 million. Following their acquittal, Manuso immediately shelved both Zancokio and Camarano, stripping them of their ranks and profitable criminal rackets as punishment for their defense strategy. Since being shelved, Zancokio has maintained a lower profile. However, his historical connections and criminal experience ensure he remains a dangerous figure in New York's underworld. But Zancokio's spectacular fall from grace and shelved status is nothing compared to the next mafia boss whose violent specialist skills and willingness to kill earned him rapid elevation through the deadly ranks. Diego Tantio. Proving your worth in America's deadliest crime family requires demonstrating that you can kill without hesitation. Diego Tantio's rapid elevation through the Gambino ranks showcases exactly how violence still determines who gains power in modern organized crime. Formally inducted as a Gambino soldier on October 17, 2019, Tantio's transformation from street criminal to made member came through his willingness to engage in brutal extortion, deadly assaults, and violent intimidation. These activities keep the family's victims terrorized into compliance. Tantio's criminal career represents the deadly evolution of modern organized crime. Traditional murder and violence are now combined with sophisticated financial schemes that generate millions in illegal profits while maintaining plausible deniability. Operating under Capo Joseph Lanni, he participated in racketeering conspiracy, extortion, witness retaliation, and union-related crimes. These required both lethal enforcement skills and the intelligence to manage complex criminal enterprises without attracting unwanted law enforcement attention. The violent foundation of Tantio's operations became clear through his involvement in a brutal extortion conspiracy. He targeted carting business owners who refused to submit to Gambino control. Federal investigators documented how Tantio threatened victims with a metal baseball bat, which was later seized from his vehicle. This demonstrated his willingness to use deadly weapons to enforce the family's demands for tribute payments. When victims attempted to resist, Tantio's response escalated to arson and coordinated violence that terrorized entire families. In September 2020, he and associates allegedly set fire to a victim's home while the man's wife and children were inside, and also damaged his carting trucks. 2 weeks later, a close associate of the victim was attacked with a hammer. This demonstrated the systematic nature of Tantio's violent enforcement methods. Tantio also coordinated a separate hammer assault on a demolition company dispatcher in 2020, leaving the victim seriously injured and hospitalized. Pictures of the bloodied victim were circulated throughout the carting and demolition industries authorities as a warning to others who might consider resisting Gambino demands. On November 8, 2023, Tantio was arrested in the coordinated takedown. He was released on bond on November 21, 2023. If Tantio's hammer attacks and arson campaigns terrified you, the next mafia boss has turned strategic violence and calculated intimidation into an art form that controls entire territories and generates millions illegally. Pasquali Patty Mayorino. Strategic violence and calculated intimidation have elevated Pasquali Mayorino to become one of the most feared capos in the Bonanno crime family's deadly hierarchy. His rise to power within one of America's most violent criminal organizations represents the continuing importance of deadly enforcement. This enforcement maintains control over lucrative criminal enterprises that generate millions in illegal profits through extortion, loan sharking, and coordinated violence against anyone who dares to resist. Mayorino's transformation into one of America's deadliest crime bosses was forged through a criminal career marked by violence. This established his reputation long before he assumed leadership responsibilities. His father, Salvatore "Chubby" Mayorino, was a Bonanno soldier, providing him with family connections that opened doors. However, it was his willingness to commit murder that earned him respect and advancement within the organization's hierarchy. According to federal informants and investigative reports, Mayorino was promoted to capo in the Bonanno family in recent years, reflecting his rising influence under Michael Mancuso's leadership. His close relationship with Mancuso has facilitated this ascension. He's now positioned as a key figure in the family's Bronx operations, where he serves as a critical link between the Bonanno family and other New York crime families. Mayorino's involvement in deadly criminal operations was documented in a 2016 racketeering case tied to Genovese capo Pasquale "Patsy" Perello. He was charged with extortion related to a gambling debt, with wiretaps capturing Perello instructing his crew to give the victim a flat tire to trap and confront him. Mayorino was implicated in ensuring debt collection through intimidation. This case demonstrated his active role in cross-family extortion schemes that often escalated to violence when victims failed to comply. The 2019 shelving of Joseph Camarano Jr. and John Zancokio by Michael Mancuso created opportunities for loyalists like Mayorino to expand their influence within the family. His promotion to capo suggests he filled a leadership gap. He actively manages Bonanno rackets such as loan sharking, gambling, and extortion, while serving as an inter-family liaison that facilitates coordination on joint criminal ventures. While Mayorino dominates the Bronx with deadly efficiency and cross-family connections, the next mafia boss proves that surviving decades in this deadly game requires geographical adaptability and criminal flexibility that spans multiple states. Vincent "Vinny Slick" Artuso. Adapting to survive decades in organized crime while maintaining deadly criminal operations across multiple states has made Vincent Artuso one of the most experienced and dangerous crime figures still operating in America today. His transformation from Florida-based capo to New York associate demonstrates the adaptability required to remain relevant in modern organized crime. Geographic flexibility and willingness to engage in violence determine who survives law enforcement pressure and internal family politics. Artuso's criminal reputation was established through his leadership of the Gambino family's Florida operations. There, he controlled lucrative criminal enterprises until his conviction in 2008 for a $6 million real estate fraud scheme against ADT. His prosecution involved supervising fraudulent property sales and inflated leasebacks that demonstrated his ability to manage complex financial crimes. These skills made him valuable to the family even after his release from federal prison in 2016. The most recent demonstration of Artuso's continued involvement in deadly criminal operations occurred on September 1, 2023 at Roxy's Bar and Grill in Toms River, New Jersey. He was present when Joseph Lanni threatened to burn down the restaurant while boasting of Gambino connections. Surveillance footage captured Lanni purchasing a gas canister 18 minutes later, though Artuso intervened by taking it away before any arson could occur. Despite his intervention to prevent the immediate arson, Artuso remained involved as the intimidation escalated throughout the night. Lanni called the restaurant owner 39 times, and later that evening, the owner and his wife were assaulted at knife point. This demonstrated how Artuso's criminal operations routinely escalated from threats to actual violence against victims who failed to comply with Gambino demands. On November 8, 2023, Artuso was arrested under the alias Vincent Minschero as part of the coordinated U.S.-Italian takedown of 16 Gambino members and associates. His participation in the broader racketeering conspiracy included involvement in extortion and witness retaliation schemes that generated over $1.5 $1.5 million in illicit proceeds. This confirmed his continued relevance in Gambino operations despite his advanced age and previous convictions. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, click on one of the boxes playing on your screen to watch more similar content.